When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
So if you're like me, you've probably loved this movie for a very long time, but I guess something happened to me where I loved it a little bit less for a while, and that thing that happened was Crispin Glover.
What?
Because he hated this movie's ending.
I said to Robert Zemeckis, I thought it was not a good idea for our characters to have a monetary reward, because it basically makes the moral of the film be that money equals happiness.
And I guess because I saw him as sort of an authority on the subject of Back to the Future, and also because I hadn't really thought deeply about his comments, I thought, hey, this guy is probably right. Like, yeah, it's an 80s movie that probably missed the mark on true happiness. But then I fucked up. Because I brought this up in my last video. You don't need to go watch it, but basically I just said that Crispin Glover hated the ending of Back to the Future, and then used that to suggest that the satire of a different movie he was in, Hot Tub Time Machine, could have been something that he really liked because they mock the ending of Back to the Future. And I probably should have anticipated this, but plenty of people came to the defense of Back to the Future.
Since you're new here, I'm gonna cut you a break.
And honestly, everyone was very respectful to me. I mean, I was just the messenger, but good points were raised, and it got me thinking, was Crispin Glover right or wrong? And did the end of this movie kind of suck? Or, you know, what message does it send to audiences? So let's dig into this movie and figure it out. We start the movie off with the beloved Marty McFly. He's entering the garage that Doc lives in, which, just real quick, a lot of people ask, like, how does this seemingly cool teenager who is clearly disinterested in science know Doc Brown, the local mad scientist? And I always thought this opening scene was the explanation, right? I mean, he knows him because he uses his speaker setup, I think, and then Doc Brown kind of, through this relationship, stumbles into having Marty as his pseudo assistant. Maybe it's not a perfect explanation, but because we don't get an actual meeting, I think this was their attempt. Anyways, first we gotta understand that Marty's parents have a shitty marriage.
It was then that I realized that I was gonna spend the rest of my life with him.
His dad, George, is unconfident, kind of submissive, and not much of a risk taker.
Do you realize what would happen if I handed my reports in your handwriting? I'll get fired.
He's scared of confronting really any of his fears.
You wouldn't want that to happen, would you? Would you? Of course not, Biff.
And we learn that this keeps him in a certain social position, notably below Biff in the pecking order.
Afraid I'm just not very good at confrontations.
It's kind of immediately obvious that his submissive nature allows Biff to take advantage of him and get ahead. Another thing that we know is that he rarely made any of the moves to make Lorraine his wife.
That was so stupid. Grandpa hit him with the car.
She felt bad for him because her dad hit him with his car, and this sparked their relationship.
It was meant to be.
But as a result, she didn't fall for him in a way that is, I guess, conducive to a strong partnership. She just kind of felt sorry for him.
You felt sorry for him, so you decided to go with him to the fish under the sea dance. No.
On top of that, Marty's mom drinks a lot of alcohol for various reasons that I'll get into in a moment. But for now, we'll just say that she's clearly not happy with her life or her marriage to George. And then to an extent, their kids inherit this lack of confidence.
What if she said no? I don't know if I could take that kind of rejection. Jesus, I'm starting to sound like my old man.
And this lack of confidence, I think, is inflicted by their parents' beliefs that you shouldn't take many risks. Not only in having your aspirations potentially shut down, but also something that is maybe a little overlooked is that Lorraine, in the original timeline, is strongly against her daughter dating the opposite gender.
It's terrible. Girls chasing boys. When I was your age, I never chased a boy or called a boy.
After we learn this opening stuff, Marty goes back in time, and chaos ensues. He meets his dad.
You're George McFly. Yeah, who are you?
He fucks up his parents' initial meeting and has to get them back together so that he can be born.
Erased from existence.
Instead of all that, his mom falls in love with him.
You trying to tell me that my mother has got the hots for me?
And then he gets his parents together through different measures that are a lot different from the original timeline. Notably, George asks out Lorraine, although he does get shut down.
What?
He inadvertently punches Biff in the face thanks to Marty.
Hey, you, get your damn hands off. Oh.
Kinda. He learns to stand up for himself in the process, and he again stands up for Lorraine at the dance.
Excuse me.
He learns to stand up for the things he wants, and all of this actually ends up making them better people in theory, although maybe not everyone agrees with that. But Lorraine is the one that I really want to talk about, because we have to remember that her character was literally almost assaulted by Biff.
George, help me.
On the same night that she kissed George, at least in the new timeline.
No, Biff. You leave her alone.
But I think it probably happened in the old timeline too. Now, this might be a little muddy as a hypothesis because perhaps she wasn't in the car with George at all in 1955, at least on the day of the dance. And obviously she wasn't there with Marty. But we do know that Biff pursued her through all of high school and she kept rejecting him.
I'm not that kind of girl.
We also know that Biff is willing to assault her if given the opportunity.
Well, maybe you are, and you just don't know it yet.
Get your meat hooks off of me.
And we know that in the original timeline, George became a source of comfort where he was
He
safe.
seems so helpless. Like a little lost puppy.
Not in the sense that he would keep her safe, but in the sense that being with him, he wouldn't violate her boundaries in the way that Biff did. In an understandable way, though George probably isn't the kind of guy she envisioned herself ending up with, she is also risk-averse in the sense that she didn't want to leave a partnership that was stable and safe. She didn't want to pursue something more fulfilling than her marriage with George, because that would entail being alone with a man again, or getting into a situation that she has learned is unsafe.
Well, look at what we have here.
Because, think about it, she strongly discourages her daughter from getting into a parked car with a boy.
Never chased a boy or called a boy or sat in a parked car with a boy.
And, you know, I hate to turn this into an absolute tragedy, but on top of that, we know that Biff hangs around the McFly house in the original timeline.
Say hi to your mom for me.
We know that it was probably extremely taboo to talk about assault in the era that Lorraine grew up in. We know that George continues not to stand up for her, and we know that Lorraine drinks plenty of alcohol to cope with something. To me, it seems like it could be trauma that would be relived by Biff's constant presence at the house, as well as other aspects of a sad life. Yeah, sorry, this is a full-on fucking horror movie now, I'm so sorry. I think this is what she inflicts onto her kids, and especially her daughter. Like, it's easy to see that George communicates his lack of confidence, but do you think that Lorraine communicates her own fears about being alone with someone she doesn't really know, and that's why she doesn't want her daughter to meet anyone or specifically be in a parked car with a boy? What we do know is that she was a relatively promiscuous person when she was younger.
It's not like I've never parked before.
What?
I do want to say that in the real world, attempted assault is also often just as traumatic. But talking from a storytelling perspective, which is, you know, that's what I do around here, something happens to a character and it was changed and then it has an outcome. Like, there has to be an explanation for Lorraine to be, first of all, apprehensive, and then later to have a newfound openness toward teen dating.
Jennifer Parker called you twice. I don't like her, Marty. Oh, I sure like her, Marty. She is such a sweet girl.
Of course, other explanations that I can think of are that Lorraine actually fell in love in high school and it worked out for her, so maybe that's the real explanation for her newfound openness in the revised timeline. You know, she's like a success story of teen dating, so to speak.
Thank you, Marty. George.
I do think that there are things that are more obvious than this that they're trying to communicate, though. Like, things that are certainly intentional, but still a little overlooked, especially now. And one of them is a critique of the 1980s Reagan administration.
Who's president of the United States in 1985?
And its championing of a return to 1950s idealism.
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan, the actor?
The movie doesn't necessarily champion any certain decade, but the movie does show imperfections in society among both decades.
If you believe in progress, re-elect Mayor Red Thomas.
Like, it kind of attempts to strip away the idealized perspective, you know, that Leave It to Beaver-esque perspective of the 1950s that a lot of people, even in this century now, still have. Which, for the record, this point of view, which some politicians do still try to capitalize on today, is a result of strict media control at the time that forced an idealized view onto TV screens. But, you know, that's a conversation for another video. In this movie, let's just say that they show flaws in the 1950s that people might not be aware of, even in the 80s.
Take that, you mutated son of a bitch!
They show paranoia and or a significant amount of distrust of differences.
Listen, you gotta help me.
Stop while we're down!
He's a very strange young man.
He's an idiot.
They also show good old racism. You can't have the 50s without racism.
What the hell are you doing to my car?
Hey, beat it, Spook. This don't concern you.
Colored mayor, that'll be the day.
You wait and see, Mr. Carruthers. I will be mayor.
And for the record, we know racism still exists now and certainly did in the 1980s. And the film, it does simplify that reality a lot, but it does attempt to show how progress has been made in that area.
I'll be the most powerful man in Hill Valley, and I'm gonna clean up this town.
Goldie Wilson. Progress is his middle name.
People were also bullied a lot in this movie, and nobody really cares.
Very funny. You guys are being real mature. You're a slacker. Do you want to be a slacker for the rest of your life?
Although that was probably true in the 80s too, let's be honest. I mean, I wasn't there, I'm just making guesses. But anyways, guys also literally walk away from their friend trying to assault someone.
Well, go on. This ain't no peep show.
Plus his dad just hits a fucking teenager with his car and then doesn't call for medical help. Like,
Stella! Another one of these damn kids jumped in front of my car!
I don't know, shit's crazy. And last but not least, people only had a maximum of one TV. What the hell? I got two right here. 1, 2.
Wow, you must be rich.
So I do think it is, in a subtle, understated kind of way, they're kind of saying, hey, look people, there's problems in the 50s too. And it is a response to the political state of America at the time. It's a pointed display that says, hey, it looks shiny and pretty in hindsight and on your TV screens, but underneath there were problems.
Whoa, they really cleaned this place up. Looks brand new.
But something I always notice, and I find this really interesting, is when Marty goes back to 1985, there is a person without a house sleeping on a park bench. And crazy thing, homelessness was low in the 1950s, but comparatively very high in the 1980s. So I mean, this stuff is intentional, and if you're really keen on noticing, it's saying, yeah, stuff changed for the better and stuff changed for the worse, but it's not all hunky-dory, you know? Another layer to this actually goes back to Lorraine again. She's, I think, a stand-in for the idealized, conservative, perfected point of view on the 1950s, because she claims that she was a squeaky clean beacon of perfection as a young person in the 1950s.
When I get the standard lecture about how she never did that kind of stuff when she was a kid. I mean, look, I think the woman was born a nun.
But we see that that's not true.
Everybody who's anybody drinks.
But her perspective is what a lot of people think that mid-century America was, and this movie wants us to see that. So I did listen to 2 different podcasts in preparation for this video, but I didn't write down which one said this, so I'm just going to put them both right here, right there. And those are my regular listening podcasts anyway, so it's one of the 2. But basically, one of them pointed out that the old lady at the beginning of the movie who wants to save the clock tower.
Save the clock tower!
She's trying to preserve it as keep it in its broken condition rather than repair it.
Mayor Wilson is sponsoring an initiative to replace that clock.
And, maybe I'm the idiot, but I always thought, saving the clock tower meant to either prevent it from being torn down or that this woman wanted to fix it in some way, but it's the opposite. The black mayor, Goldie Wilson, is sponsoring an initiative to progress by fixing the clock, while the white woman is trying to preserve it and ostensibly prevent progress, which, given all the stuff I've talked about, I think there is a solid and intentional metaphor in there about preservation versus progress. Okay, so we have a lot to think about at this point, and I think it all contributes to a discussion about the ending of this movie, and I think we've arrived to being able to talk about it. So, what does Back to the Future really say about a life well lived? Well, Crispin Glover thought that it said money equals happiness, and that this was a bad message. Well, what I think happened is that he simply didn't like the original script, and this is a documented thing, that they made some changes based on his point of view early on.
Those changes happened. It had to do with money and what people were doing, the characters were doing with money. But I didn't stop with it.
And also, I found the script, so let me put it right here. Now, I think we can admit that if he had this critique and this was the movie ending that we got, we'd probably all agree. But no offense to Mr. Glover, I think he is an incredibly talented dude, and he's in 2 of my favorite movies of all time, and not to mention his connection to this fella right up here. That's Jason, if you can't see. But I think that sometimes when you believe something, it's really hard not to stick with that. I mean, it's called belief perseverance. I'm sure a lot of people listening have heard of that. And because he was so passionate about this critique, I think that even if they tried to rectify the situation, it was difficult for him to change his mind even, 40 years later. Because I would argue that in George's case, he learns to stand up for himself.
Now, Beth, don't con me.
And the McFlys are only really marginally more wealthy for that reason. Presumably he's stopped doing Biff's work for him, and he's willing to ask for / show what he has deserved in terms of wages or putting himself out there. Biff probably floundered out of whatever white-collar job they both had, while George moved up the corporate ladder while also writing his book on the side, and we see the start of that success at the end. If you put your mind to it,
you can accomplish anything.
And if you want a little hope for George, a little, not quite an Easter egg, if you will, it looks like in the original script, they had him selling 2 million copies of this book, and it was a worldwide success. So maybe that can be considered canon, I don't know. But overall, they're still in the same house. It's just a nicer house, and they can afford this cool truck and this cool car. So I don't think that part really sucks because it's not particularly egregious, even though it does show a little bit of wealth equals happiness in a strictly materialistic sense, which maybe that is a bit more of a sound critique, because if I was defending Glover's point of view, I would say that they are buying some degree of luxury and unnecessary items and are hiring outside help to maintain them, and they're kind of flaunting their wealth in that sense. Though it's not an absurd or unrealistic display. It's more a visual representation for film purposes of the things George earned from his determination and belief in himself. Although it's still super fucked up that Biff still hangs around the McFly house, like...
Yeah, Biff, what a character. Always try to get away with something.
Is this the only auto detailer you guys could find in the city? Like, I don't know, it's weird. Although I will say that we're probably supposed to... Actually, we're definitely supposed to see Biff as in a less good position in the revised timeline. But, I mean, he owns his own business, and to me, that's way cooler than working, like, in an office, presumably, right? So I don't know, it's interesting. I mean, there's your argument, you know, is this movie shits on blue-collar workers, potentially. In the case of the kids, they get a trickle-down effect where they are more successful because of who their parents are.
I always wear a suit to the office.
They instill confidence in them. In the case of Linda specifically, she is clearly more willing to put herself out there, and her confidence is more attractive to men.
Which one was it, Greg or Craig?
I don't know. I can't keep up with all of your boyfriends.
Hey.
I would also argue that's probably a result of her mother's support toward dating and, of course, the personality changes that George and Lorraine encouraged in their children. What I will say is that I could see a critique that this movie does champion individual determination rather than the reality that it's often systemic change that is needed for many people. Or even outside of that, it's just often luck that leads to success. Like, it simplifies the idea that the sheer power of will leads to success, and in a way that kind of makes it an advocate for the American dream, and by extension, that does make it kind of an advocate for money equaling happiness. Oh shit, he was fucking right. No, I'm kidding. Kind of. I mean, you can certainly increase your chances of success through determination and willingness to try, but when you look at Goldie Wilson, they do present him like his individual determination got him to success as well.
You think I'm gonna spend the rest of my life in this slop house?
Watch it, Goldie.
No, sir. I'm gonna make something of myself, and one day I'm gonna be somebody.
They don't entirely do this. Like, as noted, they do simplify, but do allude to the idea that progress in society also led to his success in terms of racism being less common. So, I don't know, I see the critique that this movie, which, of course, it's a mainstream blockbuster flick, it simplifies the idea of success, and maybe to Crispin Glover's credit, it simplifies some aspects of what success actually looks like and how to get there. So regardless of oversimplification, the dominant message is true, and that's that being confident and willing to try is beneficial to your life, and often standing up for yourself and going after the things that you are passionate about will have a benefit. Now, whether you're going to see success is, again, a bit of a random process, but overall, taking that message and applying it to your life is going to make your life better. Also, Marty's life would be very different, and all of his memories would be very difficult to trust, and just saying, he now lives in a horror movie, but I'm not going to unpack that, because my last video was about that a lot, so I'm not doing that right now. Real quick before I sign off here, did you know that Back to the Future hasn't been remade because Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale don't want it to be remade because they know that it's a perfect movie and a perfect franchise? And Robert Zemeckis has said that as long as him and Bob Gale are alive, it won't be remade, but he expects that it'll probably be remade when he dies unless his estate can block it. So, I don't know, one day we might be getting Back to the Future revised timeline featuring Timothy Chalamet as Marty McFly and Chris Pratt as Doc Brown. Jeez. Anyways, I do want to say thank you so much for watching and sticking around for the video to this point. If you have some thoughts, please do let me know how you feel about all of this. Because yeah, I love reading the comments, and I try to reply to most of them. So thank you, and bye.